It's early October now, and I always complain of the weather, but we've had a lot of rain squelching through the grass here in the cut flower patch. But I thought early October now we should have a little tour of the cut flower patch. Now usually I try and run my flower season until the end of October, and I'm doing that with any pre-orders that I've had, but I've actually now closed my online flower shop, and I'm not going to be taking any further orders in October. And that's because it's taking me so long to cut a bouquet. That's because I'm struggling to find flowers of a high enough quality to put into a bouquet which you expect somebody to pay for. So if I'm making a classic bunch, usually you could cut that in 10 minutes. It could take me an hour, and then of course your time is money, and you're just not making any money back on those flowers that you're cutting. Hello and welcome along to my channel. My name's Suzanne and I garden and grow cut flowers in Devon in the UK, and you join me today in very early October, and I thought it was about time we went for a tour of the cut flower patch. I don't know if you could sort of hear the squelching underfoot, but just to give you an idea of how wet it is, these are the ditches, trenches that I dig around my beds. And because I'm on clay, you can see those ditches are very slow draining. And just over the fence here, so we're in the cut flower patch, and then just over the fence, you can see what the ground is like. And the ground's like that basically on the whole lower half of my cut flower patch, which is, so this is what I call the lower half, and this is the newest part of my cut flower patch. So this is the second season for this side here, whereas this side up here, so this is basically the fence used to go along here, along the front of the polytunnel there. That was the fence. So these beds back here have got an extra 2 years on the ones down there. So I don't have any real problems with water logging up here. It's much, much, much drier. However, this end bed did used to get really wet, but actually I've almost got the opposite problem with it now because of the willow hedge that I have along here. The roots presumably go all under the pathway here, and they are taking a lot of moisture out of this bed, but I have still managed to grow in this bed this season. But it was really wet, so what it would be like in a dry year, I'm not sure. I'm just noticing, and I'm talking to you. I'll show you, hang on. Look at all these Greek cress babies in the path. Now, you know what I'm going to do, don't you? We're going to pop these on. Although, look at all the Greek cress in here. So Greek cress, Persian cress, absolutely fantastic. And I always find the cress that you can get going now in the autumn is always so much taller than what you grow in the spring, and it dries brilliantly. So even if you've got loads of it, you can dry it and then start to use it now at this time of year. Okay, so let's have a tour. So I've been doing a bit of sort of tidying up. So this bed used to be Dianthus barbatus. And I was gonna just clear it, tidy it, but what I've actually done is I've dug it all up and I've taken cuttings from the Dianthus barbatus, which I do have in another video, and they've taken very well, but I don't know if that video will ever get uploaded or edited because I think there's a lot of clips missing on it. But anyway, the Dianthus is gone from here now, and we've got feverfew. I've just mulched this, so that's why everybody looks a bit bedraggled. And then these are my second attempt at the crimson loose strife. So this is a Lysimachia, and oh look, there are two there. I should have divided those, and there are two there as well. And the first time I grew them, they germinated brilliantly. I planted them out at this time of year, and they didn't make it through the winter. So I've opted to put them in the raised bed and hope they have a bit more protection here. So I'm really looking forward to these because I've got the white loose strife, the gooseneck loose strife, and I really love it. But I'd love the one with this colour. This is the really dark, sort of plummy, burgundy purpley colour. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then these are a load of self-sown Aquilegia here that have just been moved and organised a little bit more purposefully. These foxgloves should be the apricot one, but I mean, I'm guessing, I mean, they're huge now. I don't know when they're going to flower. It'll be interesting to see. Asters. They were great for about 2 weeks, and then it rained a lot and they've just like, well, they've gone all slimy. I don't know if they got touched by a mild frost, but was it worth the amount of effort for 2 weeks? Not sure. Maybe the polytunnel. I know they like to grow at the latter end of the year because they like the change in light, but I'm not convinced that asters are something I'm going to grow again. I'm thinking, I mean, they're beautiful, I love them, but are they worth it? Give me your thoughts on Chinese asters. This very ridiculous looking wire is very high. I put it there a bit hastily because ash keeps climbing in there and it was getting a bit frustrating. I've had slugs. Slugs have been eating my honesty seedlings. Okay, so this is the remains of one. This one has still got some leaves, as has that one. But this one is very nibbled, as is this one, this one. So the slugs have not gone, everybody. But anyway, I have got a few teeny tiny honesty seeds in a different bed, so hopefully they'll come along. So this obviously Achillea yarrow is done. Feverfew here. I will just come in here and weed this and tidy this up a little bit. And then this was the snowball and gold ball, and you see it's not, you know, look at these plants, they're still really tiny, they're not thriving here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and autumn sow some in the tunnel and see if I can get a better crop of that, because the snowball I really liked. Sedum, obviously all over now, all finished. And then my grasses, again, finished. My thyme, which is just for culinary purposes. And then I didn't really cut very much of the Veronica, so that's all gone to seed. I mean, you can tell I didn't cut it. I cut, you know, 3 or 4 stems. Verbascum here, again, all going to seed now. Really great. Verbascum is really great if you're an event florist. We're doing lots of arrangements. It's not so good for retail bouquets, but I really like it for doing those more arty projects. This is the loose strife gone to seed here. I didn't cut it so heavily this year because last year it got cut so heavily because it coincided with a wedding. So basically the whole lot got cut and used in the wedding. This year I didn't have a wedding when it was flowering, so I cut it a bit for retail, but not like I did last year. Oregano and the obedient plant. Now these seed heads are actually great dried, so I should come and cut some of these. This is supposed to be the Astrantia section. You can see we've got a foxglove, some Linaria toadflax, feverfew. There's even a borage in there. So this needs, oh look, and a strawberry. So this needs a bit of a tidy up because I have got some plants over here. It's like the nursery. And I mean, this is an Astrantia here that needs putting back with his mates. So that basically these plants are just waiting to be planted out. So then next to the Astrantia, we've got the Tamaca, Achillea the Pearl. I love this, absolutely love it. But a few things haven't been great for me this year because of the rain. The Tamaca was one of them, and Status. My Limonium, my Status, has been dreadful this year. How's your Status been this year? I mean, last year it was amazing, but this year the rain just kept destroying it just before it was going to be at the point ready to cut. I've got a bit, but just not as much as I had last year, and I've got loads that I just haven't cut. I've just left it on the plant. So these are my baby echinops that I've started from seed. So it's just weird that that one's really small and these ones are really big. Presumably it's to do with the being so close to the Tamaca this side. And we've got a Linaria in there as well, which will probably stay, to be honest. More oregano. Look, there's a path here that I'm going to get wet legs, I think, going through here. Ooh, jump over. And then this bed, I'm really annoyed because I'd collected my Serinth seed, I'd planted it into cells, it had germinated, and then a blasted slug or snail in the greenhouse ate them, and there's no more seed in here now. Oh wait, hang on. Whoa, there's some seed. So I'm going to have to come and collect what seed I can and redo the Serinth. I'm not really sure why I've got these snapdragons holding on. They need taking out, really. And then in here we've got teeny tiny baby biennials. So these are Canterbury bells. So they're just tucked in for the winter now. Look, there's lots of Levatra seed cases in here. So what's the bedding? We have lots of Levatra come up in the spring. But yeah, so these are the Canterbury bells growing on. And then these are my Dianthus cuttings, which, as I say, I did have a video, but I'm not sure if it will go up or not, but they're doing quite well. And then these are my poor teeny tiny Honesty, which have gone out because the slugs have eaten my bigger ones. I think there are only, there's only 6 in here. And then these teeny tiny ones are hopefully Sweet Rocket. They should be, because these are the ones I've sown, they should be white. And then a whole load more Dianthus here. And then might as well go in here while we're here. Oh, I've hurt my thumb, so I'm going to switch hands. Oh. Okay, so polytunnel. Calendula in the polytunnel. Oh yes, this is the way to grow it. Definitely. In fact, I've sown some. Where is it? Calendula Pink Surprise. But I only did the seed sowing yesterday, so hence it just looking like bare earth at the moment. Zinnias are succumbing now to disease, so they can come out. I mean, all this will come out because we've got stock and ranunculus and larkspur and lots of things to get in for early in the spring. These were the dahlias that were not. They were supposed to be white for that wedding. So I was really disappointed with those because they wasted some indoor space. They could have been outside, really. But hopefully these will keep producing to fulfill some of my October orders. More feverfew, you can never have too much. Oh, my straw flowers have been amazing again, despite the rain. They really, really worked so hard to keep producing me flowers. And do you know what? Even though I had a much smaller space for straw flowers this year, they produced me such a good quantity, it wasn't a problem. We've got a self-sown Dorcas in here, which might be useful for my last orders. And then the statice, you can see what's happened. I've just left it all. I didn't cut it, and it was all just rubbish. I was really, really disappointed with my statice this year. And this was good though, the xanthemum. I'll grow this again. Really, in fact, even this one that's like gone completely brown, that'd still be really good dried. But really, you can see the weeds are taking over now. We've got some nettle in here. We've got some Nicotiana, Nicotiana. There's one here, and there's one over here, which is flowering. And that is self-sown because I used to grow it as a cut flower, but I don't like it as a cut flower. I find it really sticky, and I just don't think it adds much to a bouquet. And then this has been a workhorse as well. I mean, I thought I'd more or less cut this down, but you can see it's still throwing out quite nice stems. And this is the winged everlasting. One thing that didn't do so well was the helictrum. And I don't know, I mean, these are just some buds down here that I don't know if it was too wet for it. I wonder if I need to grow that somewhere else. The canary grass was so good, but I just haven't kept up with cutting it. Wow, really, really recommend it. I really like growing that. Definitely grow that next year. And then obviously my poor damp squidgy roses. Yeah, they need, I mean, they're pretty weed free, but they want a bit of a prune and all the weeds gone, get rid of the grasses and give them a bit of airflow, really tidy them up. These are the roses I'm still thinking about digging up. So this is Cream Abundance, and it just doesn't cope well with any weather. I mean this year's been particularly bad, but it's never really coped. The one over there, that cream, is Champagne Moment, and that's the one I'd recommend. So that's probably going to go. It's putting on some lovely new growth. My grasses here have just had it now. And again, I'm thinking about just moving Bonica maybe into the cottage garden. But then I did see all these fantastic rose hips, and I thought she might be quite useful to keep for rose hips for Christmas wreaths. Look at these strawberries in here. And the raspberries, wow, it was a good year for raspberries this year. They've just really taken over. You can't even see the blueberry bush in there amongst weeds and sting nettles. So then you've already seen the video where the horse ate the willow hedge. And then this was some direct sowing that we did a few weeks ago, the 8th of September. And it's not working particularly well. The seeds that are here are pretty much self-sown. And we've got a whole load of the cress, as I mentioned. And then we've also got Phacelia coming up here, there and everywhere. I think the only thing that I can see germinating that I actually did sow are some Nigella. But I can't see any Lavatra. I can't see any cornflowers. I can't see any, oh yeah, cress. Well, yes, the cress definitely worked. Buplurum, well, that's so much cress, you wouldn't see the buplurum even if it was there. And then, of course, the Orlea. So this was my third succession of snapdragons, and this was the apple blossom, self-sown feverfew. But then we've got an Ami here, self-sown, which might be useful. I've pretty much finished with the amaranthus now, hot biscuits and the red army, and there was some Ushberg somewhere. Arduratum has been really good, but I had too much of it. I didn't need as much as I grew. And then I've already cleared this end of the bed here, which I've just been, adding some organic matter. And I don't keep anything in these beds over the winter because they are just too wet. I've got some self-sown perennials here that I've dug up. So there's feverfew here and here. Lots of feverfew, and I think there were a few, a Verbena boreensis. So these will find a home as well, but I've just popped them in pots temporarily. Dahlias are getting quite tired now, but they're still trying to produce me flowers. So I need to come along here and label the ones I particularly like. This is one that I particularly liked. Oh, here we are. I just wanted to show you a flower. So this one needs to be labelled and kept really safe for cuttings for next year. And my wine-eyed Jill's sort of all reverted to a yellow Jill now. So I'm going to have to order some fresh tubers of the wine-eyed Jill. And another dahlia that's sort of changed quite a lot this year compared to last year is over here, is my Joey Joshua. So can you see now we've got really washed out to a really pale pink. So again, I'll need fresh tubers because that's nothing like it was last year at all. Karma Naomi, it's been really good again this year, but her stems are getting quite weedy now. And it's fair to say we've got too much golden scepter, way too much. I just don't need that much. I've cleared this bed as well, but you can see I've just left for the bees really a couple of these single dahlias. These are the Bishop's Children that I grew from seed. But then this dahlia is one that got left in the ground last year by accident, and I'm waiting to see who it is because it's yet to flower. So it's budding up, so when I find out who it is I can at least label it. And you can see I've got some more self-sown cress in here, and I've already mulched and just started to cover this to prevent weeds. When I dig the dahlias up, there's probably enough sheep's wool on here for me to not amend the beds in any way. I'll just dig them up and then leave these beds over the winter, but I probably won't put dahlias in these next year. So what I'll probably do is, this year I've had dahlias here and here. Next year I'll probably put dahlias on the end one here and then back in this one here where there were dahlias last year, just to rotate them around a little bit. And then down here the lady's mantle has really done amazing. Obviously likes it here, but I think I've probably eventually the wet has got to the peonies. So we'll wait and see what happens in the spring. This bed looks very tired. This was my second succession of my Chantilly snapdragons. My scabious, just been so hard to find flowers that are just not damaged by the rain. I definitely won't be growing marigolds outside again. I don't like them for fresh flowers, but I have now really fallen in love with them as a dried flower. So I probably will grow some in the tunnel again next year, but with the thought of drying in mind. But for me, they just wasted this space where I could have had something else. The crown daisies have been great, but obviously they're very tired now. Had a long season working hard for me. Mint, see we've got lots of creeping buttercup getting in here now. I thought that the mint would win because obviously it's so invasive, as is the oregano, but the creeping buttercup has definitely won out there. Really weedy now in the phlox bed, and again the phlox is not cuttable now. It's just a case of clearing this bed ready to plant again. And yeah, this bed needs weeding and staking, much better staking for next year. Got a lot of compost going on over here. And then here we've got more dianthus. I'm just letting this honesty go to seed because I'm sure I did see a baby honesty. Oh yeah, here we are. A baby honesty that's growing up all by itself. These foxgloves will probably come out. Didn't use any of the Shasta Daisy this year. Last year I used loads. Yeah, not a huge fan of this Agstash. Might pop that in the cottage garden. Rebecca has been amazing this year. You can tell I've been cutting really heavily from it, but Sahara's still my favourite. I mean, I just love this yellow. It's just a really lovely yellow. Achillea yarrow. Didn't cut so much of this year. It's all gone to seed. And then dianthus, which I don't know whether I should come along and give this dianthus a serious haircut. I'll have a think about that. And then apple mint there in the corner. Self-sown verbena. I've uncovered my daffodils and given them a mulch. You can see I've got an area here still to mulch. Now I've got a feeling my daffodils might have all been eaten by something. I thought they were poisonous, but there were loads of vole tunnels going all underneath the carpet there. And interestingly enough, so what I think has happened is the voles have eaten the daffodils, and I actually think the voles have all died because they've eaten the poisonous daffodil bulbs. So it's a weird situation really, because although it will be really gutting if none of my daffodils come back, because there were a lot of bulbs in there, it will be a relief. I don't want to say I'll be happy that all the voles died, because that's a bit harsh, isn't it? They were only doing their job of existing, but it will be useful if my ranunculus don't all get eaten by voles this year. So this tunnel has got some anemones and ranunculus in it already, but obviously I've got plenty of space to put some more in when I've pre-sprouted them. So I'm just waiting for that order to arrive. And then in here, we've got a few ranunculus here. Avi purple. I'm not sure how long the stems are going to be on those. I had a go at growing some eucalyptus from seed and then neglected them. So I'm really not sure what will happen with these. Anemones, more ranunculus. And then I've had a bit of a slug problem in here. So I was really annoyed because, well, yeah, it's been eating my babies. So I need to do some more larkspur. I have got odd larkspur. See, there's a larkspur. But it really ate some trays, which really annoyed me. Oh, here's some more ranunculus. That's the purple as well. They've grown on a bit too much, really. Need to get them outside. And then these poor little babies are just campanula that haven't really grown on very well. So I've just taken them out of the compost and gone ahead and put them in some straight manure just to see if they do any better. Thank you very much for coming along with me for today's tour of my cut flower patch. Don't forget, if you did like the video, to give it a like, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, if you subscribe to my channel, you get to follow my cut flower and gardening journey. And if you'd like to contribute towards the making of these videos, you can buy me a coffee, and the link for coffee buying is in the description to the video. Let me know if you've managed to get your biennials in the ground yet. Have you done any direct sowing, and how's your sowing of your hardy annuals going? Have you been having trouble with the peat-free compost? Every year I seem to find a compost that I think is working for me, and then I try it again the following year and it just isn't going so well. What tips have you got? What are you adding to your compost? You know, do you use vermiculite or not? It's all great to find out how other people sow their seeds and what tips they have. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Sit.